Yeah, nice to meet you guys. I'm so thankful that you guys, are spending your time to learn more about cryptocurrency. I'm not a financial advisor or the expert like that, but I think just being well informed about what's going on in the new world would be good to learn. Nick told me I don't know how much of the basics you guys know, so I could start from the beginning and talk, and you guys can interject questions if you want, ask me whatever. I'm pretty deep into the crypto world. Have been part of a lot of bull runs, have been part of a lot of bear runs. I've seen NFTs, I've seen the staking part of it, I've seen the mining part. So there's a lot of aspects to it, and you guys can ask me about them all. So we'll start with Bitcoin in general as a cryptocurrency. It's just basically digital money. The only thing, two different things is like with the U.S. currency, it's centralized, so it's owned by the government. The biggest thing about Bitcoin, it's decentralized, so nobody really owns the technology, which is a good thing. So like the biggest use case is like in certain countries like Asia right now, like Korea, you can't send more than $50,000 out of the country a year. And so without the government knowing, the government, if you want to send a $10,000 wire today, they're going to stop you with the banks for 3 days, 4 days, ask you all these questions like, where is it going? They just get very into it. But with crypto, instantly and at a very cheap rate. So say you want to send like 100,000 in Bitcoin, it's going to cost you just $5. And, the receiver is going to own that and receive that within 20-30 minutes of getting this confirmation, and there's no bank stopping it. Banks can't stop it. China has tried to shut down this technology. It's just this new technology that it's unstoppable because everybody has the internet. And the miners, you think miners are all these these rich people who are mining Bitcoins and stuff. It's just average day people who are have computers willing to run on their free time to confirm transactions. They're basically doing work for you and you're getting rewards. And so there's nobody really owning this Bitcoin technology. Also, the good thing is there's a finite number of them. So there's 21 million of these out there. By 2100, these are all going to be mined out. There's a scarcity part to it versus the US currency, which is they're just always printing. And if you look it up, at least the things that is I'm not a financial advisor, but I'll give you a couple good facts. Like a really good fact is 2010 to 2020, the best investment of last decade, if you look it up, was Bitcoin. There's no other asset out there, real estate, whatever it might have been. There's factually nothing that beat it the last 10 years. So I really think there is a big future for it. The market cap of the whole thing's worth like $2 trillion. It's overtaking a lot of things. The biggest one is obviously Bitcoin. It came out the longest ago. The guy who started was this guy named Satoshi Nakamoto. And he created this thing, and then he basically disappeared off the internet. Nobody knows who he is. He's worth 40 billion in the world right now. He hasn't really introduced himself. And so people like that feeling that, oh, this guy created this revolution in technology. He stepped away from it. He hasn't shown up in 6 years. So it's kind of like the standard that everybody's building off of. And then there's all these other cryptocurrencies. The second main one is Ethereum. Ethereum kind of, it's different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like how you can transfer payments and money, and it's a store of value, very similar to the currency. But you can think of Ethereum and the network of Ethereum similar to the App Store. So everybody's using they're using the Ethereum blockchain to build these apps or build these things online, and they have to talk with the Ethereum blockchain. And so that's why Ethereum is valuable, and it's number 2, and it's going up in value. Because if you think about it, if you could own a percentage of the Apple Play Store and all the fees that are coming out of it, all the royalties, why wouldn't you? And so those are the big things about cryptocurrencies. I can start there. They're basically decentralized. So if you guys understand that, nobody owns it, government owns them. There's a power to it. It's very anonymous too. It's not like, hey, like Miguel owns this much Bitcoin. You get a long address. That's why you see all those long addresses with 30 digits that are numbers and codes. That's kind of like your secret address. And the cool thing and bad thing is that people can read into your address. Everything's public in the Bitcoin world. Like everybody knows how much Bitcoin you have, how much I have. They just need to know your address to know those things. But everything is publicly recorded, and so it's fair. So because it's public recorded, everybody can check up on it and see that nobody's really lying. That's the biggest thing about crypto. The thing about NFT, which is new right now, is they're basically the problem with artwork. If you think about it, they're not liquid. People have a lot of millions of dollars of artwork, but they don't really have a platform to sell it really quickly, and they don't even know how to authenticate, hey, this was really drawn by Picasso, to have these kind of valuations and stuff. So NFTs, what they fix is, one, they show proof of ownership, who actually owns these cryptocurrencies or these NFTs and these artworks somebody creates. And then it also shows that it can be liquid. You can trade it for Ethereum and you can trade it around the world. And, you know, you could own this art piece and somebody across the world could own it in the next 10 minutes and you guys just trade currencies. And it's just the flow of it is moving. And that's why NFT has so much hype, because unlike art, which, you know, has a lot of money in it, it's not moving hands a lot because it's precious. People don't want to move around. So this is like this new concept that people are trying to try out and prove as a theory before they get into Web 3.0. So Web 2.0, you can think of, you know, as all these www websites we go. The 3.0 is this whole metaverse that everybody's trying to build out. You know, Facebook changed their name to Meta. They're trying to get into the metaverse. And then cryptocurrency, they have their own decentralized land called Sandbox, Decentraland. There's these online metaverse.
Oh, hold up, Andrew. Yeah. I know I got questions. You rolling, man. You rolling.
Okay, yeah. Start with Bitcoin in general. If you guys have questions around Bitcoin.
There we go. Yeah, I had a first one. And that's, okay, you said there are multiple resources, you know, for the whole crypto industry. What decides that? And,
what do you mean?
Okay, you said Bitcoin, and then you have Ethereum. How many are there? And
there's
who sits down and decides, hey, let's start a what? You know what I mean?
Explain that.
Okay.
Bitcoin is the biggest ones, but there are currently out there probably 2,000 to 3,000 other cryptocurrencies. So you probably heard of Dogecoin, Shiba Inu coin. You've heard of Ripple, Cardano, Solana. There's a lot of these other big ones that have come in and out of the scene, and they're all competing because, you know, in the future, the people who are very into crypto, they think this is going to be the future currency. There's going to be one world currency, and so there's a lot of players fighting for this currency because, you know, there's already 200 currencies in the regular world with fiat currency. 2,000-3,000 of these people all competing for different spaces inside the new money in the future world. They're trying to all compete either, hey, we're going to be the main way to move money. Some people might be the main lenders in the new world of money. Okay. So they were creating these things called decentralized finance, DeFi, if you've heard of that, DeFi coins. There's also stable coins. There's just a lot of coins. They're all competing. They're all trying to win over people, each team. And that's why I don't really, in terms of advising, I don't advise people to really be investing in these things called the shit coins. They're the ones with small market caps, with coins that don't really have marketing. They don't really have the developers to back up their claims. They're not really moving on the projects. So there's a lot of those coins. And the top coins, they're the top for a reason. When you look into them, there's a whole community supporting them. There's developers doing weekly work, daily work. They're upgrading. They're relaying all this information in AMAs, Ask Me Anything, Telegram chat, Discord chats back to their investors, telling them, hey, these are the updates that are going on. And because they see these updates and patches, they kind of trust that this project is taking it far. And so far, you know, Ethereum, that's where everybody's building everything on. So that's why it's popular. Or, you know, Bitcoin's just been around the longest and it's the original. And so that's why people pile money. But in the world of crypto, the one thing everybody should know is, you know, it just sometimes doesn't make sense, to be honest. Like, you know, you'll hear stories all the time of people making millions, losing a lot. Like, it's just the world it is in crypto. You know, the returns are crazy. Like in the stock market, you can expect 10-15% returns in a year. In the crypto market, you can see that in a day or something. So there's a lot of risk and volatility involved. And the more volatility comes with, you know, less reputable coins. Because those less reputable coins, the problem is these owners, they like to dump a lot. You know, say you just woke up to 10-20 million and you're the owner and you just created this shit coin out of thin air. You might as well want to sell it. And so that's why you don't really want to get involved into those, because couple owners of those are working together and they own majority of the coin, versus Bitcoin or Ethereum or something. You know, there's like millions of holders out there. So even if one guy with a lot sold it, it's not going to affect the price as much. But if you got into a small one for 15 cents and he owns billions of those and he sold it on you, there's no way you're going to be able to cash out, and you get illiquid and people getting stuck in those situations. So I'm mainly here, like, you guys should do a lot of research. All the stuff you see on Instagram and stuff, I know what that is, all the NFT promotions and stuff, but those are probably not the best. If you guys are on the basic level of cryptocurrency, that's probably not your best to-go investment. Your better investment is the Bitcoins, the Ethereums, the gold and silvers of the cryptocurrency. If you're trying to hit these shit coins and you see all the things that you're following on Instagram, it's actually not a good idea. Those guys, all those things you see, they're all getting paid off. You know, like I see all the marketing back end, people are paying these theme pages, these influencers. Most of them are getting paid off to do this kind of stuff. So always have to do your own research on that.
Andrew,
But
quick question: Is
yeah,
this money? Like,
yeah,
is it? I hear e-currency, and Nalene, maybe you're nodding because I'm like, okay, so I live downtown in a downtown that's smaller than yours, I'm sure. But I walk down and there's this like vape store, and on their door it's like, we accept Bitcoin. So it sounds like it's money, but is it money?
It's literally money. It's literally money. It's just
So
a
if I have
store.
$20, I could go to Bitcoin and turn my $20 into 20 Bitcoin dollars?
Yeah, 20 Bitcoin dollars. And then with those Bitcoin dollars, you can send it instantly to that owner of the vape shop. And the fee on Bitcoin is very low. Like when you're transferring, say, like 100,000, you're probably paying like $10 versus when you go through a bank, you're gonna have to pay a $35 wire fee, a 3-day wait, all this stuff, and then the IRS gets involved. It's just like none of that gets involved.
And what's the commercial like consumption of it? Like, so vape shop, they're probably pretty forward, right? They're accepting Bitcoin, but how many vendors commercial are accepting?
In the future, all these vendors are going to accept it. So I think people aren't realizing how big it's going to become. Like Visa's already partnered up with crypto. You know, they're going to roll out with their crypto cards this year. If you already use PayPal, if you already use Venmo, if you already use Cash App, any of those apps, if you go look in one of those tabs, they'll try to sell you Bitcoin on them already on those exchanges. And so all those big players already got involved. Tesla's accepting Bitcoin to get a Tesla. You know, very big companies out there are already, 100% accepting Bitcoin.
That was the over 40 question, because I'm like, is it money? Okay,
yeah, it's
thank
definitely
you.
money, definitely usable. And to be honest, it's very trusted. If you go to people who are, inside the crypto space and you're like, hey, I want to send you 10,000 in Bitcoin, like they believe it. Like they'll be able to verify it. It's a very legit thing. And all the big companies, like they're starting to adopt to it. All these partnerships, if you see like even Lakers Arena, crypto.com bought the endorsementship, UFC, their whole endorsements was just bought by crypto.com as well. All these big crypto people, they're making a lot of money because right now the savings accounts in the world of America, they're not paying you shit. They're paying you like 0.001% a year. It's negligible. But at least there's this new concept called staking. It's like you hold your money in there. It's kind of like a savings, but you can't take it out but until you unstake it. But when you do that, like these platforms like Coinbase.com, they're paying you 4, 7, 8% a year guaranteed on your money. So why were people doing that versus a savings account, And so that's why crypto.com and these people are advertising heavily, because they want people to invest their money in there and keep their money in there. But they're still really paying out crazy dividends. Like crypto is one of those worlds where if you hear crazy things about crypto, like you can't necessarily say it's untrue. Like you might hear a friend say, hey, yeah, I had this crypto coin in it 5x this week, or I staked this one and made this. Like it's possible. And so yeah, can't
I have a question.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
My question was, you talked about all the other cryptocurrencies that they are. A while back, just because I started hearing about it and I was investing minorly in the market, I heard about Doge and I bought about $100 worth of Doge coin. It has seen a lot of rise and a lot of fall. Elon Musk is always talking about it. And when you said something about having 2 or 3 owners, they own the majority of the whole thing. It kind of gave me the sensation that maybe that's what's happening with Dodge, that Elon owns quite a bit of it.
There's people like Elon who are shilling and they're moving the market a lot. Elon before SNL, he talked about Doge. He was typing it up. Doge it's a meme coin. If you guys don't know about it, it came out of nowhere. It was just to make fun of a coin, just to make fun. But somehow those kind of things work in the crypto world. People wanted to start supporting that. Elon supporting that. So it made a few millionaires, a lot of millionaires actually, who got in early. And if you got in, Miguel, it's probably a couple X multiple by now at least. But those are still, risky because it is a meme. So I do a lot more value investing. So I look into, what kind of utilities they're bringing, kind of like seeing the ownership distribution, seeing what kind of, inflow capital is coming in, little things like that. But honestly, there's a big website called Coin Market Cap. That's how you look at all the coins and their rankings and stuff. As long as you're sticking to the top 10s, top 20s, you're not deviating too far from the plan. You're at least sticking with things that have big names in the world. If you say it, maybe people will be like, okay, yeah, I know what this coin is, Doge is, or Ripple or any of these other bigger ones. But any of the other smaller ones, I'm definitely against it right now. There's so many scammers out there. And the thing about crypto is it's like anonymous. Like I said, I don't know your name tied to it. I know your address. So if somebody scams you, you just know their address and you can't really track them down. And so that's why there's a lot of crypto scams and stuff that go around. And that's what kind of ruins the reputation of it. But also, it's a good thing that crypto is very safe. Once you send it, it's unrefundable. It's unsendable back. It's definitely there.
So
I'll take
Andrew, I just saw this. I Googled NFTs and there's like on March 11th, this 10-second video sold for $69 million.
Yeah, people's NFT video, right?
Yes. So that's $69 real million.
$9 million US
artist
dollars.
Now has an e-currency that he can then pay for things. Straight
to USD. Yep. When he sold that Beeple for $70 million, he can have $70 million cash in his bank next day. It's
Miguel,
when you think of
it.
yeah, when you think of Bitcoin, it is literally, when I think of it, at least in my head, I think of it equivalent as the dollar. Like if I trust in the dollar that's not backed by anything and they're printing 40% supply in the last year, I'm trusting this technology that, all the smart people are really on. And, there's a lot of capital getting, it's not like the whole project's, a couple billion or something, the net worth of some small people. Like the whole total market cap of all crypto right now is 2.2 trillion, which is a good amount. Right now, gold actually is the biggest asset that people have been hoarding over the centuries because they think that's the real store value. But the problem with gold is it's unmovable. You've never seen in your life people really trade gold or really, even the price of gold, it doesn't really fluctuate like crazy. And so people are really trying to get away from that, trying to find some digital way to move. Everybody's already doing Apple Pays and all these, taps to pay. So it's already really moving into that digital currency. The biggest factor is in the digital currency, if everybody gets there, people don't want a centralized power. They don't want a government having access to this. That's why they love Bitcoin, because no government owns it. And that's why all these governments are super against it. China has banned it. If you listen to the US SEC meetings and Janet Yellen and all those big talks once a month, the FOMC meetings, they'll talk about how they want to ban Bitcoin. But you can see there's YouTube videos of senators going into Senate and Congress saying, hey, Bitcoin's unstoppable. They can't stop it unless they take down the internet. It's all these transactions that Bitcoin, like when I send money to you via Bitcoin in a bank, normally the bank, they're the one who confirms the miners from my account plus into your account. But in our case, there's something called miners. That's what there's people mining around the world. There's 32 people of them at the same time verifying it. So when 32 people look at me sending you 10K and you're up 10K and I'm down 10K, it'll be very clear from the 32 randomly picked people that they're not colluding to say, hey, Andrew, actually, let's subtract 20 from him and just add more to this girl. Like, it can't be false because there's 32 randomly selected to verify it all around the world. And they can't all talk to each other because they don't know they're working on the same project. They just want to say, hey, this 5,000 equals 5,000. And so because of that, it makes it very safe to move the money. I'll take some more questions because that's getting deep, I guess.
What's the price? What's the price of Bitcoin, of a Bitcoin today?
Yes. Okay. So the crazy thing is, a price of one Bitcoin right now is probably $44,000 right now.
Okay. Can you buy shares of a Bitcoin?
Buy Bitcoin, you can buy. They're called Satoshi. So you can buy 0.1 Bitcoin, 0.01 Bitcoin. And to be honest, today's January. So January last year, Bitcoin was probably around 15,000. So it's tripled since last year. And if you saw 2 years ago, the price of Bitcoin, it was only 3,000 to 5,000. So, and if it's 44, it's already 10x in the last 2 years. And no joke, if you guys look up 2010 to 2020, best investment ever, it was literally Bitcoin. There's no other asset that increased that much. And so yeah, I know it might scare you that this price of 44,000, it's a lot for one Bitcoin, but there's other facts that I always read, there's not enough millionaires to buy one Bitcoin each. And if they're all millionaires, they should be able to afford 44K Bitcoin, but there's not going to be. So the prediction everybody has is, eventually Bitcoin's going to hit 100,000. Earlier this summer, when it was really hot, Bitcoin used to be $68,000. So right now it's a little bit discounted, 25% off long term. Short term, you could see more fluctuations on the downside, 20%, 30%, who knows. But in the long run, honestly, that thing's gonna reach 100,000, and then eventually 200,000, then 500,000. It's because the protocol, the way they built it out, is there's 21 million of them, and that's it. And not each millionaire can own one, and there's already people who own a lot of them, and so it's getting smaller and smaller, and so the price is gonna go up. It's good to have something in there. I think my goal, like, I don't know what about y'all's, but I want to own a lot of Bitcoin because like it can really create generational wealth, in my opinion. I think that I can give it to my kids and stuff, and in the future it's going to be worth a lot of money, and that's going to be something that they can leverage, that I could at least do for them. And yeah, so I'm pro for it. And it's only going up. You see the interest is going up. People try to always deny it, or you'll see the media trying to really get you away from it, saying, hey, Bitcoin crashed again, or Bitcoin's dying. But every time they say that, there's always memes out there, people who like these big channels that are saying, hey, they're always dying, but it always comes back stronger. Like only 3 months ago, it was the highest price at 68,000. It's 44. It's probably going to go back to that at least this year. Like if we probably had a call at the end of this year, it might be 100,000, double from this spot. And yeah, it might be a lot, but there's other coins to get into it. That's
okay. So
yeah.
Andrew, so like I said, I told you time would fly. It's 10:15. So before we go into NFT, just to reiterate Jamie's question, and like what Siobhan had said, so you can, when you say dump, you can actually do the conversion to that dollar transaction.
Yes.
And not keep it in Bitcoin. You could actually just go ahead and convert it to $70 million, right?
Into dollars.
And right. And who's accepting that? And any US bank, or where you get the money from?
Yeah, so what happens is you've heard of maybe stuff like Coinbase and these bigger apps, and what happens is, so you buy crypto on the Coinbase, you tie your bank account, you say, hey, I want to buy 10K in crypto or whatever it is. Say the crypto goes up to 50K, whatever it might be. You just say, hey, I want to sell it back into dollars. And then once it gets into dollars, it's called USDC, USD coin. And then you withdraw that to your bank. And that's it. Crypto is very easy. It's very easy to move if you own a top holding coin. That's why you don't want to hold these low coins, because they might be illiquid. Say you make 10 million in a coin, but then there might not be 10 million in buying power. But right now in Bitcoin, none of us combined have enough to even sell off to move the market. Like they'll instantly buy it up. There's hundreds of millions, billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin buy orders already. So if you want to sell it anytime, it's instantly liquidable like that. That's a big point. Like, I hope y'all understand that the dollar is super strong in the world, and I see it kind of fading right now, but it's still strong. But crypto is very trustable, at least on the big ones, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like, if people bring that up as forms of payments, like I take them 100%. I'm never against them.
Okay, well, thank you. And so now we transition to NFTs and showing that connection, right? Crypto and Discord and
yeah,
all
while
the
I
other
get
components.
one who was talking about your artists and such, right? Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities right now for definitely the artists and those creative people. There's I guess I'll get specifically with you. There's two ways. One is you draw your own art, you launch your own collection, you market it, and you sell it for Ethereum, and then you're the owner. There's royalty rights, there's all this stuff going on. Or you can partner up. That's a lot of work. You got to do the marketing piece, you got to do the NFT creations. There's a lot of, there's also the development part. When you do with NFTs are done on the smart chain. You actually have to hire people who know coding with Ethereum and Solidity to write these smart contracts in the background saying, hey, this guy really owns this proof of ownership and stuff. So there's some coding involved and stuff. So that's a huge process, but there's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of artists that are getting snatched up to work on, to do their own projects. But if you can't do your own.
So let's say, if I could, just tune your use case here. So let's say Miguel is this, he's like Prince, right? He's the next great artist, whatever. Okay. Now, he's made this album collection of songs. So what exactly does that turn into from an NFT perspective? And how does he move that out to
Okay,
his
so
public.
artists, let's take artists case samples from two ways of art. So we'll do first is artists like a musician artist. There's a guy named Tory Lanez. If you guys know, Tory Lanez launched the NFT. He sold 1 million copies for $1 a piece. He made $1 million in 1 minute. He sold it all out. That point of that NFT was he released an album to 1 million people for $1. And that NFT, only people who own that right to that NFT can listen to the album. So like if we probably none of us have heard this Tory Lanez album that came out last year, and the only way we can access it is if a friend who already owns the NFT plays it for us, or if they transfer the rights to NFT to us, then we'll have the right to access and view all this playlist stuff. And so it's very
like how Tidal did it. How Tidal artists, Tidal, they only released via Tidal, and everyone who was a Tidal user had, okay, that makes sense.
For sure. That's kind of like NFTs and how that's cool. It shows proof of ownership. So Tory's not selling to all these people who are bootlegging. He's selling for 1 million. Those people also get special rights, you know, unlike the public world who get to listen to this other music, they get this special music they get to listen to. But the cool thing is they get resale value. So right now his albums, even though it's sold for $1, now it's like $50 because it's the scarcity of it. He only released 1 million. Some people are going to hold on to it, never resell it, but people want to listen to it. So when people transfer to another person, Tory will also eat the royalty rights on that transfership, like 5% or this small stuff. So it's really empowering these artists in terms of like a musician artist, but also like creative artists, all these people who want to release their work out there, make sure that they're getting their royalty, making sure that the consumer is getting something with proof of authenticity. It's just creating this good relationship that's happening from artists to consumers. Also just like artwork, there's a lot of artwork that's doing that. So there's a lot of social media people who aren't big like the Picassos and all those big names, but they have big social media. They have Instagram followers, TikTok followers. They haven't really figured out how do I monetize. They've always been doing small commissions. They haven't really been making money the last few years. But this year, NFTs are popping off and they need good artwork. So these design people are really getting scouted heavily. And same concept with NFTs with art. It's just like if people, this guy who's famous, you know, he drew art and the person who owns that 10-second video for 70 million, he's the exclusive owner. So if he wants to resell it in the future for 100 million, he can. He's the only one who's going to be able to, you know, like post that video out there. He can make royalty rights on selling advertisements from parts of those videos. And so there's so many aspects you can do because with NFTs, the biggest thing is you're just saying proof of authentication. You own that thing authentically, and you know that you know authentically who the actual artist was too. So there's can be no fakes out there. And that's what makes seeing this market really fun. There's no fakes. It's really movable. You know who created the art piece, verified. And so that's kind of NFTs. And there's a lot of things we're doing with NFTs to incentivize it. So there's stuff like, hey, if you buy this NFT, we'll also airdrop. So they'll be like, hey, if you buy this NFT, we'll give you ability into this thing. Like you'll get membership into our exclusive club. Or a lot of them will host live events, be like, hey, if you own this NFT, you can show your Super Bowl party. It's all free. You know, you're going to be hanging out with other people who own this NFT with you. Like there's a lot of community involved in the NFTs, and they'll host live events or they'll give out utilities or, you know, just different things like that. And there's a lot of, it's like perks that you can give to only your fans that who own NFT. You can say, hey, I want to airdrop all my fans $10 today or something. And like, there's just these going on like that and that you can only do with NFTs that's solving the art.
Okay. All right, Siobhan had a question.
I got a question. When it comes to NFT, how does the price regulate? How does it fluctuate? Does it fluctuate based off popularity?
So yeah, if you've seen the prices of some of these things are crazy. I think you guys are younger, so you guys have maybe seen like Bored Apes and stuff. There's these little monkeys online that are selling for
I've seen those.
$250,000 a piece, and they're just a little picture, and everybody's hyped about it. It's literally a $250,000 picture, but there's 10,000 of them and it's sold out. But there's this platform called OpenSea. So that's where people, if you go to OpenSea.io, that's where you can view a lot of the artwork out there. And you can see how much they're trading for, all that kind of stuff. The price of it depends on, you know, what the next person is going to pay for it. And the next person is only going to pay for it if they see there's utility in there, value in there, if they think there's going to be a resale value in the future because the artist is good or the artwork is good. Those are things that go into it. Other things is you got to look very deeply into how many pieces they make. Some of these artists make one of one. So when it's a one out of one, it's very rare because nobody else in the world has it. It's a one of one. But some people will release one of 10,000. And so there's 10,000 copies out there. So when you see there's less copies, that's an indicator of probably a higher price that you can pay for it. But if you see that they've printed 10,000 of these and they're still selling to you for high, like that doesn't make sense too. So it depends on popularity, the social cloud aspect, how many they printed. The artist is important. The community is important, who's backing it, because you want to own these NFTs with other community members that are liking your values, which you guys like. You guys want to eventually hang out. So a couple of things like that affect the market. Also, the price of cryptocurrency. When Bitcoin's dropping, nobody's really trying to dump their money into artwork and stuff. So there's a pause on that. But when Bitcoin's going up a lot, people want to, they want to diversify their portfolio a little bit now that they're getting so rich. So they're buying some NFTs. So that kind of stuff is going on.
Okay. So Andrew, so the loop that I always see with this is like saying, hey, I can write a book. Okay. But you don't have an audience that wants to follow you. How does it have value if you're unknown and don't have a following and you only make one? Why does it, does that make sense? Even if it's a great NFT, it looks great, but nobody cares. So how does that happen? So you create something that's artistically.
Oh yeah, there's so much, just
attractive.
like the regular world of art and the digital world of art, there's tens of thousands of pieces on OpenSea and the open market that are unsold. They're listed for $100, $50, $30. People don't want to buy them because they think, oh, this is garbage. There's no resale value. This guy put it up too quick, or this artist is not a big reputation. So there are things that they have to. But the good thing is there's a lot of free.
But what do you mean he put it up too quick? According to who? That's the art of the art.
Oh,
I mean, what's too quick?
I mean, some people are pumping out art. So there's a lot of scripts out there with Photoshop and stuff. So you'll see a lot of these NFTs that say, hey, we're launching 10,000 characters in our NFT collection. But the artist didn't draw all 10,000 art pieces. What they did was they drew 100 unique pieces of traits and they ran it through a generator with the base character and made a lot of these characters really quickly. And then they're selling it. So they're not really putting in the hand of art work. Like if you put in the work and the artwork looks good, there's a lot of free publicity and marketing that you'll definitely get. Yeah, but to answer your question, there's a lot of NFTs out there that have no value too, it's just, you want to create a concept that has good value, good utility, incorporates good designers and artists. And then if you have a cause or purpose tied to it, you can build a community there and start raising money. There's a lot of people. There's ways to do that. Like I'm working on one right now where we're drawing like 8,000 pictures, like 8,000 NFT, and each person who buys the NFT, they'll also co-own a percentage of a casino in the metaverse. And so it incentivizes them to buy it because they'll get the art piece, but they also get percentage of profits in the future. So it's like I'm just working with that. There's like a utility, but then there's the artwork. So NFT is kind of weird. There's two segments. There's the really utility NFTs. The artwork looks like really crap, and you're like, why are people paying so much for them? But it's because they're providing a lot of live events, providing ways to make passive, providing ways to do this kind of stuff. Or the artwork's so good. There's if your artwork's really top of the level, it will be found in the crypto world. Like people are always scouting for really good artists and all this stuff. And so if you take your time and you're a great artist and you're kind of following the trend, you can make a lot of money just on artwork.
Just to make a comment on what you mentioned earlier about the monkeys that people were going crazy about as the NFT. If I remember correctly, that was also kind of an entry card, wasn't it, to specific, very exclusive yacht club, which is why they were selling so expensively, about 500.
Yeah. Lil Baby owns one. All Eminem owns one. These are big people. You can look them all up. Who owns a Bored Ape? It's just like they're literally called Bored Ape because they were bored ape. And like the founder was so bored, he's so rich, they're a yacht club. They're just rich people. They don't know what to do with their money. So they started making this Bored Ape Yacht Club, and everybody started jumping onto it because they all want to get all the perks that this yacht club is offering. And so now it's $250,000 because if you own one of those, you can go get on free yachts all the time. You can do all these exclusive things. You can network with Steph Curry, those kind of things. So there's benefits for sure, and that's why the ones that have good benefits will go up in value. Like when you have access to Eminem and Lil Baby and those guys in a group chat with you with only like 500 other owners, like there's value there, and that's why people are paying $250,000.
And you know what's interesting about that? It's what you said about Tory Lanez selling that album for $1. If people know anything about artists, is they become way, way more famous when they pass away.
For sure.
Artist becomes way, way more famous. Picasso was a nobody until he died. When Picasso died, that's when his paintings became famous. So if you own a Tory Lanez album that you bought for $1, when Tory Lanez passes away and people can't have access to his music ever, that album that you bought for $1 could be worth a lot more money.
For
so
sure.
that's like thinking 20 years, maybe 30 years ahead.
For sure. It's already multiplied. And for sure, like you guys might think you guys missed out on a lot of opportunities. It already grew so much. Bitcoin's already 40K. All this, the Bored Apes already bought out. But this cycle happens every year. Every year, millionaires are made. Every year, big returns and big opportunities are definitely on the table. I just recommend, I've been burned many times too, just following my heart, following this. So I've learned over time, definitely do your own research, put time into it, just do your due diligence, but don't be so close-minded about the opportunities because, there are a lot of big opportunities out there to multiply your multi, and some people don't believe it out there, but it's really happening yearly. New opportunities have come out this year. There's also another part of crypto I guess I could go into shortly. So there's the crypto, like you can buy crypto, you can mine crypto, and there's NFTs, but there's also called staking, which is like basically when you own crypto, you can do a lot of these the sucky thing about peer-to-peer lending is, you don't get paid back because, there's like there's no contract set in place to really go get 300 bucks you loaned out to this kid or whatever it might be. But the cool thing about P2P lending on the contract agreement, like when you lend somebody money and you say, hey, you set the interest rate a month or something, you will definitely take the principal and your 10% because it holds money in an escrow account for you to make sure that that contract and that smart contract can fill. So you can, start peer-to-peer lending with crypto. Feel safe about it and make it great. Peer-to-peer lending has always been a great return, but it always sucks because you had to go chase it down. And crypto, it solves it because creating these smart contracts in place so that you are getting paid on time with collateral and all these things are in the background. So, you can churn out money that way. There's just a lot of things. It's called decentralized finance. So, so that's a short thing of that, but I'll take also more questions you guys have.
Okay. So in the end game, let's say it's Facebook and you see the little tiger and the lion, they're bobbing their heads, with the other characters on. What are we looking at down the road? Are we looking at a virtual world that has been constructed with all these NFTs in it?
For sure. So, it's definitely not going to be, in the near term, like this year where we're already on Zoom. We're not going to, a lot of people are working from home. We're not going to, you're doing classes. Everything's kind of online already like that. But to be like fully metaverse wise, it's going to be a few years, but I truly believe it's going to be built out. Facebook, a whole $1 trillion company, they rebranded the name from Facebook owning WhatsApp and all these other things to Meta for a reason. They want to be the ones who want to own this market. There's also big players in the cryptocurrency market building towards it. And yeah, eventually, Oculus Rift, all that stuff is increasing. We're going to be living in a virtual world, and these NFTs are popular because in a virtual world, you also have as crazy as it sounds, you're going to own virtual land, virtual houses, and those houses, you want to put up artwork and other stuff, and people are going to be able to visit your virtual land. And so it's a flex in the virtual world when people come over and they see, a $250,000 art piece that's just an NFT hanging up on your digital wall and stuff. It's a very big status thing. There's honestly, the crazy thing, like I said, with 2010 to 2020 being the best investment for crypto, there's been made a lot of millionaires, 100 millionaires, billionaires from crypto. And so they don't know what to do with their money, to be honest. So they park it in dumb things like this artwork and metaverse stuff. But in terms of what I think about the metaverse, it'll be a little bit before we're all transitioned digitally, because it's already hard enough. You know, some older people don't really know how to use FaceTime, any of these technological things already. So it's going to take a little time for that. But the younger crowd is definitely into it. You know, the younger kids are already in their virtual reality worlds, and adjusting to that world is going to be big. There's going to be demand for land. There's going to be demand for more NFTs. And yeah, I'm excited for what the metaverse is going to bring.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm sorry, Nick. You mentioned Coinbase earlier. In the advertisement that I've seen about Coinbase, they talk about how you can learn about crypto in Coinbase and they pay you on cryptocurrencies for learning.
Yeah, that is very true. So because cryptocurrency might have some bad like connotations, like scammings that happen and all this stuff that people might try to get people persuaded from cryptocurrency. So Coinbase is one of those platforms that are offering money for you to just download it, learn a lot more, educate yourself, and they'll give you, I don't know what it is now, but I think if you like learn a few hours about it, they should give you a couple $100 worth of free crypto, which you can choose in Bitcoin or any other thing. So that's always a good thing you can do. You know, you can sit one day, you know, learn some stuff, you get free coins, doesn't hurt you at all. But Coinbase is doing that mainly to educate the population, because crypto will go up a lot in value if everybody in the world knew what it was on a basic level. And that's what they're trying to get people to understand. And so that's why they're offering that incentive for people to educate themselves, because they think, oh, once you're educated, you're definitely going to invest in us. And that's their theory. And it's been working out for them. But yeah, if you don't have a Coinbase and you don't know enough about crypto, it doesn't hurt for you to sign up, get free coins, and, you know, educate yourself.
Thank you, Andrew. And we're going to keep it moving, keep it on schedule here. And Andrew, I hope, like I said, hope you stay on, because we got the power of two here. All this gray matter, all this brain matter in here. Okay. What I wanted to do was introduce you to another entrepreneur who I've known for years. Did we lose you, Mike? There you are. Okay, I see you. And this gentleman has been more on the corporate entrepreneurial side. In this case, he attended Babson. And Michael's one of those unique individuals, just like with Andrew. He's still rocking and rolling as he was Babson, running a business with his dad called Joe Grooming, a product I use over the years. So it's just like you have Harry's and you have all the personal care products for men, and all around the country. And yeah, and essentially, once he finished Babson, they did the research and the data analytics and said, you know, we talked about this a couple of days ago. He says, hey, we need to move in another direction. And so what he did, he spawned a new company now called New Matter, which just kicked off last month. Same product concept, smaller line, more concentrated effort to make it concierge services for men. So he's rolling that out now. But as we started discussing that piece, which we'll talk about another day, see how CPSFL can hook up with New Matter and put some shavers in some of these audiences. Michael also showed he has a deep perspective as well on the entire NFT and Bitcoin world. So without further ado, CEO and founder of New Matter and Joe Grooming in the past, Michael Kliska.
So it's a pleasure to be here. So should I just kind of kick off picking up from your story, Nick?
Yeah, that was great, because Andrew has introduced the NFT, you know, to the team. Now, if someone could put together this whole stack,
yes,
and say,
cool,
you know, Discord and whitelist and all these other things that go in there,
Oh, you know the
Um,
lingo. That's awesome.
right?
So perfect. No, that's super helpful. So, I mean, I think as the story, as he laid it out, is the business I was at before was inherently extremely old school. We were mostly going to convention centers, B2B sales, emails, paperwork. And when we were kind of seeing the shift of guys making this purchase of this higher quality grooming product, they were not doing it in store. For better or worse, they're not going to go to Ulta to buy it, even if they enjoy it. And so we kind of came to this crossroads of how do we become a more digitally native experience, which led to us realizing, okay, if we want to take advantage of this new trend, we kind of have to start from scratch. And so I've kind of been on this learning journey as well of how to take something that's inherently analog, for lack of a better term, and try to make it digital. And through that learning experience, crypto and NFTs have become part of that learning journey. And specifically being based in Miami, you also can't really avoid it. So the last 2 years, we went through the process of fundraising, talking with founders, et cetera. And it kind of culminated in what we have today, which is inherently just men's hair and skincare products that are just meant to be a New York City boutique quality product with the Dollar Shave Club or Harry's experience. And I think as that move forward, being digitally first and being modern and being forward thinking will inherently converge with crypto. And so we're starting to see this commerce and crypto convergence. And I just view it as my job to keep up with it. Right. So one of the things that we've seen recently that's been pretty interesting is Adidas just did a collaboration with Bored Ape Yacht Club and Punks, and basically established brands within the NFT space. Those are projects that people have really gotten behind and that have a lot of cachet. And this is the first time that kind of a physical goods established real life brand, kind of speaking about the metaverse, did a collaboration with a brand that really only exists online. And so they did a release, and basically, if you have the NFT, you're going to get access to certain goods that are only available to the folks with the NFT. And they will have kind of the Bored Ape Yacht Club branding on it and the Adidas branding. And if you actually redeem your NFT for any of the exclusive drops, your NFT color changes, which changes the value of it in the marketplace. Because in theory, if someone else wants to buy it next, that means they cannot redeem that piece of clothing. But in theory, at the same time, there's probably fewer people who have redeemed the clothing. So when you think about supply and demand, maybe the colors will be worth more, maybe the different colors will be worth less. It's just an example of, we don't really know yet. This is the first time that this stuff is happening. And then in addition to that, Nike actually purchased an entire project. So there is a project, I'm not going to say the name correctly. It's kind of I think it's like Artifact. It's kind of spelled a little bit odd. And they were doing digital shoe releases. And so basically Nike just said, hey, instead of you guys just doing this on your own, we're going to buy you and we're going to use your IP, your brand, your audience, and everything to kick off our efforts in the metaverse. So instead of starting from scratch, they actually are utilizing an existing IP, for lack of a better term. And then on top of it, there's games like Roblox, which kids are playing, which is just a video game, and Nike just made their own land within Roblox. So the kids are literally going in, they're playing their game, and they'll just kind of find their way in this place called Nike Land. And there's stores and there's different things. The guy that actually designed our brand was part of designing Nike Land. That's why we're aware of it. But it's those types of things that are kind of interesting. And to Andrew's point about meta, I think kind of, I don't know if us all being in the metaverse and kind of the gaming metaverse will coexist or they'll be separate. I don't really know. But for example, the things that he was talking about in terms of owning land, owning property, owning all these things, it's kind of like Sims, but it would also be cool if you could make money playing Sims, And so one of the projects that I've been involved with and one of my friends founded down here in Miami. It's called Cryptoys. And so essentially they've raised like $8 million from top funds to build out this game. And essentially they're going to create a series. Think of it like Nintendo, like a series of different games that these characters can play in. But you actually own the character. So I don't really know. So instead of using Mario, you own Mario. It's your character. So I don't know. Again, no one knows how this is going to like work in practice. But in theory, say your kid's 3 years old, he starts playing this game with this character. He loves it. He or she loves it. They play it for 10 years and they're like gold level, excellent, whatever. Like now imagine being able to sell that character to a 3-year-old. And so that, parents of a new 3-year-old, and now that 3-year-old doesn't have to start from scratch, right? There'll inherently be value in that. So it's just allowing people, I think the overall theme around decentralization is it's allowing all of us individuals, for lack of a better term, to monetize what historically only the corporations or the umbrella company that's facilitating these platform experiences would be able to make money off of. And so even just the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum as I understand it, and again, I'm learning from everything secondhand. It's not anything I'm involved with. It's like Bitcoin's really like a store of value, like a currency, like gold, etc. Whereas Ethereum is kind of building this platform alternative, right? If we think about Web 2.0, it's a lot of Amazon is a platform for brands. Facebook is a platform for content. All of these things are platforms, but they own everything on their platform, and that's what's centralized about it. Whereas Ethereum is trying to create a platform where anyone can build an application, almost like the Apple Store. And all of those different people can make money on it, but it's also global because the currency is Ethereum, which works everywhere instead of USD and taxes and all of this stuff. And so I think right now the main challenge, and maybe this is how it ties into your group, is just the difficulty of not only engaging with all of this, but also just the inherent security risks, right? I think the stage we're at now with all of this is similar. And to be fair, I didn't experience it, but I can remember my mom kind of setting up her computer and it doing the dial up, and then you log on and the only thing you can do is like type a word processing document. And everyone's kind of like, all right, is this even worth it? Like this is so much effort. Like I can just write this on a piece of paper. It's loud, it's noisy. If it deletes everything that I've ever owned, there's no way to get it back. That's kind of where we're at with crypto and Bitcoin right now, is just even to get whitelisted into one of these projects, like Nick mentioned, some of them want you to have a MetaMask wallet, but you can't. MetaMask is kind of, it's like Apple Wallet, but for the metaverse. So your money, your different currencies are in there. The NFTs that you buy are in there. That they basically, these projects will say, okay, Nick's address is 84321 or whatever it is. They're super long. And the project will say, okay, Nick gets to buy before everyone else. And so that's what Wiley's thing is they basically put your address at the front of the list and they open the gates to allow you to buy beforehand. And the way you get whitelisted is just by knowing the project members. And one of the issues I'm seeing is that the people that are, there's a lot of reasons for it, but the people that are already in NFTs are getting whitelisted on the next projects. One of the reasons is for marketing, right? So if you're going to start, community partners, South Florida NFT, you want guaranteed that some people will be interested in the project. So you give out free whitelists to other projects. But what's happening is it's kind of, if you were one of the people who invested from 2010 to 2020, not only do you have the advantage of I made all this money during this time, but now when the new projects are coming out and people want early access to it, because typically the mint price for any project that's worth a grain of salt ends up being less than the price that you would buy it on a secondary market. They're also just making profit on every single, because they're getting access to things. But the other way is to know the founders, are engaged with the community. And some people have opportunities. If a project's coming up, they'll be like, hey, if you tweet about us 10 times, or you make like a cool piece of art about our project, we'll give you a whitelist. So there's all different ways to get in there. But typically the reason people are so dedicated in trying to get whitelists is that If the project sells out in a short period of time, it kind of signals that it's interesting, and the whitelist price might be like 0.1 ETH, and then literally the next day it could be worth 0.3 ETH on OpenSea, which is like the eBay of digital goods. And so if you don't even like the project, you flip it and you make $1,000 and you move on to the next one, you know? So that's kind of the interesting piece around that. And then the other difficult part is with that is just the security and the complications. I know I've messed up a lot of the transaction stuff on my own, you know, because again, you can't like buy the Ethereum in MetaMask. You have to buy it somewhere else and transfer it into MetaMask. And then those other platforms tend to have restrictions on how much you can buy at any one time, and like identity verification and all of these processes. And it's just a process of messing up and learning and doing it right the next time, you know. And I've missed out on a couple things because I had a whitelist of something, but I was waiting for my Ethereum to process into my MetaMask, and it was going to take 2 weeks. But now I know how to do everything instantly, but it took me months to figure that out, you know. So I don't really know if there's a good way to learn about it without getting involved in it. I think one of the resources that's been super helpful for me is that there's an app called Upstream app, and it's not specific to this topic at all, but there's an app called Upstream app, and essentially they have virtual events and communities, and one of the communities is about the topic of NFTs. And essentially every Friday for the last 3 months, they've hosted a 1-hour call from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and it's virtual like this. And they just talk about, it's 2 guys, each of them have their own projects. One of them is actually the founder of the whole Upstream app itself, and he lives here in Miami, which is how I found out about this. And they just talk about all the things that they bought and they sold for that week. And they answer questions from people in the chat. And it's just, it definitely is over your head when you show up the first time, but week to week to week, you really get a good understanding of what's interesting, what they're looking for, why they're engaged with certain projects, why they're not engaged with certain projects. And just hearing the narrative, and sometimes people in the audience will come up and speak, has been a very like low touch point, high value way for me to get exposed to the topic. That's like consistent learning. So even if it's not that one specifically, I know that there's resources out there.
Right. There's another one,
yeah.
Michael. There's a Clubhouse.
Yeah, Clubhouse. Yeah,
Clubhouse
exactly.
is another social media.
Exactly. Yeah. So the only difference between this and Clubhouse is kind of like an open discussion, whereas this is more, it's an hour. We're talking about this topic. The 2 guys are going to be the main ones talking. And if they want to bring people up or whatever, you're good. But Clubhouse is another great example of if there's communities or themes around the topic. It's just an easy place to put on while you're doing whatever work you're doing and here. And there's also, it's definitely advanced, but there's a podcast I found called Bankless, Bankless. And it's super detailed. They literally like interview the CEO of, or the founder of Ethereum. And it's very high level, but detailed at the same time. And I think it's just about, you know, learning about what you're doing, learning about what they're doing, and then doing the mental bridge of how do I make this connect? When do I make it connect? Do I make it connect? And all of that. So, yeah.
Great.
So basically this is about exclusivity, like scarcity mindset. You have this money and you want this exclusive access, this exclusive color, this art that no one else has, sort of thing, this album, you know, no one else will have, right?
So basically, I think the current state of NFTs are solely a representation of what the technology can do. This is definitely not the ultimate use case. I think like right now, it's kind of a hybrid most of the time between membership access, right? Like if Nick was like, okay, only 5 people are going to get NFTs and only the 5 of you who have them can come to today's call. Maybe the other 3 would be willing to pay an extra buck to buy the NFT from someone else to show up, right? So that's like the first iteration. And then the second iteration right now is just, you know, the same economics and processes and community and and flexing that Andrew talked about that happens in the art community, right? So those are the two main ones. But with that being said, you know, the metaverses are being built and the NFTs are now items that can be in the metaverse that could have utility, right? So, you know, another example is I joined something called Links DAO. So this new iteration is that basically everyone puts in, you know, $100 into a shared wallet, and then we all get to vote based off of how much we put in on what we do with the money. And so there's a DAO, so that's called a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO. I think I think that's what it stands for, and it's Links DAO. And so basically, this guy marketed that, hey, let's all put our money in a pool and let's buy a golf course together, and let's vote as a community. You know, are we going to have a stadium hole? Is it going to be 14 holes? Is everyone going to get a golf cart? Are we all going to get those like surfing golf carts, you know, and giving everyone the ability to have say in what this experience can be. And to your point about exclusivity, Steph Curry bought one yesterday and bought one of the NFTs yesterday that gives you access to this shared wallet. And the price of the next resale it's tripled overnight, essentially. Or I think it's doubled or tripled over. I haven't looked at it this morning, but he bought one yesterday. So now people are like, oh crap, like maybe when we make this golf club, I can golf with Steph Curry, you know, and it gives it legitimacy of what it can happen. And then another one that I'm part of is called Knights of Degen, which is the other guy that hosts the Upstream community call. That's his project. And basically you buy this NFT, and then they use all the money that they've made from selling the NFTs and from all the resales, because the project owners get a percentage each time the NFT resales, which is better for digital artists, right? Because if you make a painting and you sell it to Nick, and then Nick sells it to Norman, well, I don't get any money off of that. But with NFTs, I would get 8% of whatever that transaction value is. So they're using that money that's coming in to buy real life sports teams, like in like 4th tier English Premier League. They put a bid on the X Games. They bought one of the fan controlled football teams, and then all of the owners of the NFTs get to vote on like the coaches and the players and like what we do with it. And then the idea is that as the team gets better, if we're able to do that, then they can sell the team and then buy a better team. And so I feel as though the way I was analyzing projects for a bit, to be honest, is like, one, they were my friends. So if anything went wrong, I could like text them and they could help me figure it out with all the wallets and all of that. But the second piece is like, if the art did not exist, is this still a group I would want to be a part of? So if you were to tell me tomorrow, hey, I have to pay, you know, $500 to go buy sports teams with my friends, regardless of the NFT, I would do that. You know what I mean? So the NFT is just actually the contract that legally obligates us to be tied together. And the art is just a visual representation of a contract, right? So that's kind of and if you told me tomorrow, if I had to pay $500 for me and my friends to go buy a golf course together and decide what to do with it, I would do it, right? And regardless of what the art looks like. So that's kind of how I've started to analyze stuff a bit. And I think that's how the projects are starting to realize they need to grow. So even the ones that sold on just art, they're, you know, like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, for example, they're now realizing, oh, we have this pool of money and we definitely need to learn how to use it to add value to everyone's lives, whether it's having like exclusive events at Art Basel or sending people hats, or they're trying to figure out what cool thing they could do. Maybe it is just buying actual yachts and letting people like use them. I don't know. But that's kind of the next challenge.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, so in an effort to try to keep us close on time, what I'd like to do, if possible, in case others add the questions to this, one of the things I'd love to do to close out, take 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes with Michael, 5 minutes with Andrew. And you can come back on. And okay, the world we're in, you have, like I said, the nonprofit world, and see how the little man the little woman, little person can take advantage of this and leverage it.
Totally.
And from an organizational standpoint, what we should be focused on to leverage it and turn it into opportunity. So for example, on this call, you have Mikhail, and Mikhail's at Rise Center. And it's ironic what you talk about, because they do a purpose-built community model of Warren Buffett. And the project that went on in Georgia was based on the golf course. Okay. So you had all these investors put in 200 grand. Next thing you know, there's enough money to rebuild the community around this broken down golf course.
Was that the Eastlake story?
That's correct. So
Yeah.
the gentleman, Mikhail, that you have on,
That's
he
awesome.
is building right here in Palm Beach County. And one of the premises there, one of their partners is Rybovich. Okay. And speaking of yachts and boats. Okay. So, these are the things that we're trying to get in front of to say, okay, how can we shape this to raise funds and more importantly, get the little person rise up, and set rise. And also you have Norman Barnes on, who is dealing with the entertainers, dealing with worldwide, dealing with Dubai, dealing with how do you make movements where we're looking at mental health and we're looking at art and things like that, and getting the entertainers and the celebrity world involved. And Norman is a cyber guru. Okay. So to sum it up, and you have Geneva, who is in that senior market, and how do you move the generational health and wellness of the senior citizen as the leader of their families, and making sure that they move forward in new ways. So if we had to put it all together, you and Andrew, give your thoughts on what is the best way for the little person and the nonprofit to really truly democratize this and succeed.
I mean, for me, what I would do or recommend is set up a situation where you can learn, right? And then figure out how you can use the technology to leverage whatever it is that you're already doing, right? So I think one of the great tools now, and it's not particularly easy to do, but this Upstream app is trying to make it easy for people to do this, which is just to maybe set up a shared wallet. Everyone puts in $5. On Fridays, you review projects, you analyze, what's interesting about them, what's not interesting, what makes them work, what doesn't make it work. You decide whether to allocate or sell or whatever. I mean, it can be super low, and that's the idea of a shared wallet, is it's not one person's money and everyone can vote equally. And then by the end of that, I mean, literally after 2 months of that, I think you'd have a pretty clear idea of okay, this is what we're doing that's really well. This really resonates with the success that happened with this project that we saw. And let's try to go see if we can do something for real. And I would imagine that when it comes to engaging these large organizations, the clarity you all have around what it is you'd like to accomplish with this will make it easier for them to support what you're doing. And maybe that's not the way to learn, but I think that would be, analyze as a group the things that are out there and what makes them work and not, and how you can emulate that.
Okay, so let me see if I got this right. So in a neighborhood, community partners is not small. We have a housing division, let's say it's just a neighborhood. Are we talking about setting up for our stakeholders some microfinancing projects that they select what they want to do in their neighborhood, and there's funding there to rebuild the neighborhood one block at a time?
No, I'm more saying I think step one is to learn about the current projects that exist in the world and what makes them work and not work. And then I think you'll have a ton of clarity around how you can utilize this technology to support whatever efforts you guys would like it to support, would be my, because just from week to week, you can see, okay, Steph Curry bought the Lynx DAO. It went up 3, right? So if we had a community that now had a bigger pot, what would we do with that? And this is how, they're using Discord to get their message out. And these are the type of things they're doing: a weekly Twitter Spaces, a Discord only channel where they give away something or whatever. And once you kind of can build out that framework, then I think you guys will have no problem what to do with the funds once you have it. It's just about utilizing this technology to collect the funds, which is probably where just learning about what works for the other projects would probably be a great first step, in a very detailed way,
Thank you, Michael. Andrew, you want to weigh in? Andrew there. Andrew? Okay. Okay. So, yeah, Andrew must be occupied. So with Discord, that's similar to a project management tool. Like,
I would call
it different than Teams or Slack or?
Yeah, it's a community management tool. I think my favorite part about Discord is people use that as a signal for whether or not the project will be successful. So say, for example, there's only 10,000, community partners of South Florida NFTs, but there's 100,000 people who are members of the Discord. That kind of tells you immediately, okay, we only have 10,000, but there's 100,000 people who like what they're doing, engage with what they're doing, support them in other ways, and then just the level of constant interaction on the Discord is another great signal. So say there's a channel that's about, the golf project, the golf community, and then there's a channel kind of like Slack or Teams, there's a channel about downtown West Palm. And if all of them are active and people are chatting, and people that own an NFT and work there and don't work there are all providing feedback or collaboration around these ideas, it kind of tells you, hey, with all the stuff going on, people are choosing to spend their time with this group. And so the NFT that gives you deeper access to the group is probably going to be worth something. And I think it's just the physical manifestation of like the community messaging support that you have around what you're doing, and yeah, it's just if chat and social media came together and also like represented your overall community health and size. Yeah.
Engagement. Okay.
Exactly. So
questions from the audience. Thank you, Mike. Any last questions?
I'm all good. I'm all good. Thank you.
Okay. Norman, Mr. Barnes, Mikhail, Jennifer, any questions?
Yes. What type of person in, say, a nonprofit would oversee such a project on these within the shared communities, right? Because just being an executive director doesn't always make you the best person to monitor something like this. So what are some of maybe some personality traits or something as we would select someone to oversee?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So like literally each project that has any sort of significance has a person called community manager. And their entire job is to facilitate the experiences for the people who are in the Discord and the people who own the NFTs, and to keep them happy and to take in their feedback and to have conversations and to set up the schedule for the Twitter Spaces and the Discord. And the only metric that they're judged on is engagement. Are there more people in the community than there were yesterday? And are they happier than they were yesterday? And there's a lot of different ways to go about it, but that's what they actually do. And then within the Discord, there's normally a couple people who are assigned a moderator role. So there's some channels where you don't want everyone to comment on. For example, announcements, right? You just want you to be able to make announcements, not for people to comment on it and make that all cluttered. And so you would have to pick 4 or 5 people. If maybe I think that varies. I don't know that for sure. I've never run a Discord, but there's a few people that are the moderator, and they're the ones who are going through and have access to certain channels and are able to facilitate the conversation on the platform, which is probably more niche and specific than the community manager as a whole.
Okay, so final question I had, Michael, was, okay, so our audiences, which vary from veteran to youth and family, returning citizens, underemployed, senior citizens, community leaders, right? If we're looking at the three pillars that we have behind us, which consist of jobs, employment, education, housing, okay, and mental health, healthcare, what should we shape for digital literacy that leads to those pillars, such as new jobs or new opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the actual tangible things that exist today, to Andrew's point earlier, are so early days. And I think the biggest risk for even me as just a regular business member of the community is being left behind, because it is happening so fast. It is happening. A lot of talent that is typically at like a Google or a Facebook or whatever, they're moving to companies that are working in Web3. And so I think right now it's hard to say like, hey, these are the jobs, these are the opportunities, but what I would say is the more the organization as a whole can just keep their thumb on the pulse of what's happening and how other nonprofits are using it, and that the overlap will become apparent. And it's just a question of are you putting in the 1 to 2 hours a week on an individual level or whatever that's equivalent to on an organizational level to make sure that you're not staying behind, right? And that's my whole thing. There's really actually nothing for my company to do yet with NFTs and Web3. That doesn't exist, but I know for sure it will exist at some point, and I don't know when, but I would feel that I was being irresponsible if I wasn't ready to pull the trigger when the opportunity showed up. And if I didn't put in the effort on the front end, I wouldn't be in a position to take advantage of it when the moment's right. And so that's really the perspective that I'm taking. And I'm just hoping that when the moment comes, it's apparently obvious because I know what my company's doing. I know where the industry's going, and it's my job to be the bridge, right? But I can't be a bridge if I don't know what's on the other side,
Right.
So
Well said.
basically that. Yeah.
Well said.
I just had a thing to say real quick. I actually took a look at the cryptos you were talking about.
Oh yeah.
I saw we have like a frog golem one that's going for like $300 and some. So
right.
they're already getting quite up there on price.
Totally. Yeah, no, they are. And basically it's just the community driving it, right? It's this idea of like, they're doing Twitter spaces. They have a lady that hosts a podcast on Spotify. So people are listening and hearing, and there's people online that are posting, oh, I can't wait for Cryptoys to launch. And every time that happens, someone goes on their site and they're like, hey, I need to get one of these. Right. And then they're talking about the utility of the current Cryptoy. So right now they've only launched this thing called a Cryptoy Classic, which won't even be the character. It's just kind of like a manifestation of their idea into like something physical. It's kind of like a hype tool it's like giving out t-shirts before like a big movie release, right? That's what the Cryptoy Classic is. But they went on a Twitter Spaces a few weeks ago and they said, if you have a Cryptoy Classic, we're going to airdrop you a holiday Cryptoy Classic, and we're going to give you these waffles that you can use in the game to give your actual character powers. So they're giving you reason to have one of these older ones or the original ones that actually won't even be what you use in the Nintendo equivalent. So, but by having it, it gives you, they're telling you now, after most people bought them, that by having it and keeping it, it'll give you power-ups in the game. And so now that the general public who don't has one knows that they could get power-ups in the real game, if they get one of these, they're like $200 is nothing. Like the actual characters are going to be worth way more. So let me give if I get one of the first characters in this game that I can build up to, it'll be worth way more than $200 if the project works. So it's all speculative. Like there's even a 3-on-3 basketball game that's meant for NFTs that there only 10,000 people can play because there's only 10,000 characters. But if you think about like NBA 2K, there's millions of people that play NBA 2K. So 10,000 is nothing. So they literally haven't even built the game yet. And the characters are already worth thousands of dollars just because of the math, and they're anticipating the demand. So it's super speculative, but it's kind of like startup investing. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but you're giving yourself exposure to a big upside. So, and even to answer your question about who on the team would be involved, I mean, maybe this could even be, you know, the like smallest exposure of all time of like, you know, the anyone who like invests the money that you're not using at the moment, you know, so, and just learn that way too. So.
Okay. Well, I want to thank both you gentlemen for taking your time. Andrew must have got caught up in putting out fires. Michael, I know you have more to do as CEO, and we appreciate you taking the time in the Master Series and look forward to the future.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Nick, for hosting this. This was incredible. And I hope I can get a recording of it, because I want to kind of extract from it for two marginalized nonprofits who have started based on impacts of COVID-19, one of them. And there's always a window before funding can be raised, but I figure if we put this in that window, that we will be just really successful on the other side. It says as a possibility of building.
We re-recorded it. You'll get it. Okay.
All right. Right.
All right.
Thanks
Take
so
care
much,
now.
guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen.